I've been trying to get this guy on the show since Black History Month, and he is finally here, the history maker himself, Michael Davis, the first African-American police chief in the city of Brooklyn Park. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
We are so proud of your accomplishment. Do you get that all the time?
I've gotten it some, yes.
Yeah, so how does that make you feel to have, you know, not just the city, but a lot of people in the state just kind of looking up to you and, you know, make us put our shoulders out and our chest back?
Well, it's been a paradigm shift, but it's been a great honor. And I'm proud to work in Brooklyn Park, and I'm proud to be police chief.
And you were in Minneapolis for 15 or so years.
Yes, I was.
Now, what did you do in your role as a Minneapolis police officer?
I did a variety of things. I worked on patrol. I was a supervisor working in the downtown precinct. I was a lieutenant in charge of internal affairs. And my last assignment was a sector commander in the 3rd precinct.
Now, what is a sector commander? You're speaking like Greek to me right now. What does a sector commander do?
The way the Minneapolis Police Department is set up is that the city is divided into sectors.
Okay.
And there's a patrol lieutenant in charge of each geographical sector. I was in charge of the Phillips neighborhood, about 25,000 residents, very diverse community, challenged in a lot of areas, but made a lot of strides as of late. And so the sector commander is in charge of all the crime prevention efforts and enforcement activity that occurs within that geographical area.
Now, you made the jump. You're now the chief of police. Why go from, being a police officer to being the chief of police?
Well, I believe in this field, you have to go where your aptitude and your abilities, push you and guide you towards. I completed my master's degree at Concordia here in St. Paul. The steps and the preparatory things I did in Minneapolis prepared me for this level of responsibility. And lastly, I'm extremely vested in the city of Brooklyn Park. I'm a 13-year resident there. My daughter went to school in Brooklyn Park, so I'm vested in that community in a lot of ways. So it seemed a logical step for me to move to this level of responsibility. Now,
how has it been so far since you've taken on the role as chief? What are some of the biggest challenges that you face?
Well, there's always budgetary issues you have to be mindful of. But moving into a new organization, the biggest thing is being acclimated to the culture of that organization, understanding what goes on and why things go on. The Brooklyn Park Police Department is an excellent organization. I'm very fortunate to have landed there. So moving forward, I'm very excited.
Now, what are some of the things that you have said as far as goals are concerned for the department?
Well, I got 3 goals. The first goal is reduction in crime, which is a constant.
Right.
We could set a number, but I don't believe in that. I believe that you never quite get there as far as the ultimate level of crime reduction, but you have to keep striving. The second goal is I want to increase citizen involvement, community involvement in crime prevention in a new way. There are parts of Brooklyn Park that are very atypical suburb, but there are parts of Brooklyn Park that are very challenged and very much inner city. So it's important for those groups, those community, to have a sense of community and really come together to identify problems, the things that make them feel unsafe in their community, so we can work collaboratively together. And then the final goal really is an internal one. I believe that in an organization, as a leader, as the executive leader, I need to make sure there's an environment where everyone feels they can do their best work. So moving forward, everything I do is tethered to those 3 goals.
And how is the community receiving you as the chief and the goals? And, do they say, yeah, we're glad to see you here? Or
the people in Brooklyn Park are very supportive of the police department and have been for a long, long time. And they're very receptive to the ideas that I bring, my inner city experience, and again, my investment in the community. So I've been very receptive thus far.
And how do you get people, especially people of color, because I know, we talk about this all the time when I'm talking with my police officer friends and guys who come on the show on a recurring basis. We were raised kind of, almost, don't talk to the police. I was raised in a time where, there was a lot of, civil unrest and civil rights, era going on. And, the police at that time were not our friends. So it took me to become an adult to realize that it's okay to talk to the police, because for a long time, systematically, we were taught, don't talk to the police. Are you running up against a brick wall? Are you breaking down those barriers? Do you find that in your city from some of the residents?
I think in every major city across this country you're going to find some of that. I think the fact that I'm sitting in the chair as chief helps. But it depends upon the culture of the organization, and if your culture within your organization is one of service, and one of reaching out to all communities, and wanting to build bridges and build understanding. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about racial differences and cultural differences. then you're gonna hopefully chip away at that kind of that paradigm that exists. But it's critical. You cannot work with a community in a meaningful way without working on those things and being conscious of the fact that that exists.
Now, one of the things that I know frustrates a lot of police officers that I talk to is this whole stop snitching campaign, where the rappers and some of the people in the entertainment industry are saying, you don't talk to the police to try to help them solve a crime, because if you do, then you're snitching. And cops are saying, look, there are cases that somebody has information to that we can't solve because people don't want to come forward because they believe that they're snitching.
Right. Excuse me. That is the key. Right. We cannot solve crimes without the community's help, and that's the message we need to get out there. And you're absolutely right. A lot of the homicides that occur in inner cities across this country are solved not by forensic evidence, but by people coming forward with information at one time or another. So it's absolutely critical, and this is part of working with the community in a meaningful way. I think if you have a strong relationship with the entire community, you're able to. I think that'll be minimized. If you have this kind of tenuous relationship that's always, built on friction, then that's going to be a challenge.
Now, here you are sitting here, living proof that, if you work hard, get your education, that a brother can rise to the top and be chief. And so there are kids sitting out there, and they don't have to look at, Allen Iverson or Carmelo Anthony or LeBron James, if they don't have that basketball level of skill set. They can be a police officer, and a lot of times our kids don't see that. Say, oh, well, you can be a rapper, or you can be this, or you can be that. You can be a police officer. You can be the chief. You can make history. Speak to me about you being a role model for our young black boys.
Well, I grew up in the inner city of St. Paul. I grew up in the Midway area of St. Paul. And one of the things that about that community, I was speaking to a community group, the other day about this, is that. If I did something wrong, I was vested and known in that community, and so someone would march down the street and knock on the door and say, you know what, Mr. Davis, your son was acting out. Right. To me, that's why I'm here, right? Because of that sense of public service, and so I hope that in communities of color they see this and want to come back and serve in this way. It's a very important role. I really equate safety and security to someone's health. If your health is failing, little else matters in your life. If you don't feel safe going home at night, little else matters in your community. So it's a very noble profession, in my opinion, and it's something that I hope that hopefully me being in this chair will encourage people of color to be involved.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Inspiration this morning. Michael Davis, Chief Michael Davis. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And you guys don't go anywhere. Stick around. There's more on Crossroads to come. Stay with us.